Talk TV, and today we get to hear about some good stuff happening with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. Not that they don't do good every day, but they've been awarded $1 million by the National Endowment for the Humanities for an Infrastructure and Capacity Building Challenge grant. Say that 5 times fast, and you get a gold star today for a specific area here in Mississippi, which I think is a good thing. So Justin Ellis and Shane Keil are joining us to tell us a little bit more. So welcome, guys.
Good afternoon. Thanks.
Congratulations. Anytime your department or your it gets money, it's a good day, right?
Very much so. So we have a great mission, supporting telling Mississippi stories and preserving all those historic resources around the state. So, and we're very excited to have received this funding from the National Endowment for Humanities, and excited for what it's going to do in Southwest Mississippi and the Natchez region in particular.
So it's hard to sort of just put it's like Mississippi Department of Archives and Histories is just a great umbrella for all the other sort of good things and projects you guys have going on. So for Justin and yourself, Shane, what kind of area do you guys specifically work in, or are you in that just umbrella and taking projects sort of as they come?
So we're in the Musuem Division. So there are 5 divisions within the Department of Archives and History, and Justin and I specifically work in museums. And museums is, I'll say, sort of the fun, all-encompassing umbrella that oversees all the department's museums and historic sites around the state. So, and he and I get the great job of overseeing and working with a lot of our capital projects and site improvement projects that we have going on at these different sites.
Super cool. So many good things going on there. Okay, Justin, so you guys were awarded this money from the National Endowment for the Humanities. So tell us a little bit about them and how that's a great partnership with the Department of Archives and History.
Yeah, of course. So, excuse me. So the National Endowment for the Humanities, it was created in 1965 as an independent federal agency. The National Endowment for Humanities supports research and learning in history, literature, philosophy, and other areas of humanities. My fund is selected peer-reviewed proposals from around the nation, and luckily we were one of the areas that was chosen to receive this grant.
That's pretty cool. So that means y'all have been working and looking and seeing where this money could be of service prior to going for it. I think anybody who's written for a grant, so this is not just like money gifted. You guys had to show that you were going to do work, and then you were awarded this sort of grant. So what was your project in mind? First, where did you guys select that you thought that this money would be a good fit for? Whoever wants to.
Sure. So this funding will be directed specifically to go towards work at our historic Jefferson College site. And Jefferson College is it's been a department site since the 1970s, and its history in the state of Mississippi goes all the way back really to the state's existence as a territory. So Jefferson College is the earliest institution of higher learning in the state of Mississippi. It's created by the first charter of any kind by the territorial legislature, and that's way back in 1802. So at that time, the territorial capital is in Washington, Mississippi. So Jefferson College is in the town of Washington, and this is just a few miles outside of Natchez. So this is an important region there in the southwest corner of Mississippi. And Jefferson College, is the earliest structures are built 1819, 1820 time period, and then we see architecture and new structures built all the way up through its continued use as a school into the 1930s. So, and the site continued to function as a school all the way through the mid-1960s. But the site has probably significant importance to the state because when the territorial legislature Mississippi is preparing to become a state, the State Constitution Assembly meets there on the grounds in 1817, and the state constitution, the first state constitution, 1817, is drafted and signed there on the modern-day campus of Jefferson College. So it's literally the site where Mississippi became a state in 1817. So very important to our history for that reason.
And so this grant, Justin, isn't just about preservation, which I know that's a big part of Mississippi Archives and History is preservation, but this also tries to help build infrastructure and sort of keep the site functional. It's not just about keeping it pretty. I'm sure she needs a facelift of some kind. If you've been around since the 1800s, you're going to need a little something here and there.
Exactly.
But it's also about continuing to make it a viable, building or opportunity institution there in the community.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do there. The Department of Archives and History acquired the property in 1977. And at that point, as Shane mentioned before, at that point, it did undergo a restoration at that point. But as you said, it's long overdue for a new facelift. And that's one of the things that we want to do there. We kind of name this project the Natchez Center for American History. And what we want to do there is tell a regional story there in the Natchez in the southeast community in itself. So definitely, it's something that we want to be able to tell all the stories from the Native American experience, Cotton Kingdom, slavery, Reconstruction, Civil War. We want to tell all these stories there in the region, there at the site.
So the $1 million granted, Justin, for the Natchez Center of American History is part of a bigger idea of a project, right? Like, so this project's been going on long. This project, how long has this project been going on? The Natchez Center for American History project.
We've been in the planning stages of it for some time now,
right?
And it's going through as far as getting it underway, as far as getting an interpretive plan done and getting architects on board, different things like that. So it's a project that we've been planning, but we're actually scheduled to try to actually start construction in this upcoming spring.
That's what. So the $1 million is going to help us sort of get it going, right? Break it ground, get it going, get it sort of going forward. Will there need to be more funds than that? Was that like the first push money, or is this something that will be able to sort of help see it to fruition?
So we have had some funding. We've got some great friends and contacts with Mississippi Legislature who've been a great partner. We've also received just this past summer of 2023, from Energy Mississippi, a $250,000 grant to assist with some of the building restorations there on site, and also our federal friends. So we've also received several additional grants through the National Park Service Save America's Treasures program. So we do have some funding in place. We're not all the way there, but we're making good progress. So the funds that we do have currently on board are going to help us really get underway with the exterior restoration of the buildings and continue to do some site planning and figure out sort of how we're going to fit all the different exhibitry and different things like that into these historic structures. So, and all of that has to be done in a very careful and mindful manner to make sure that we keep the historic integrity of all those structures intact. I
was going to say, man, that is a mind-numbing process, is to sort of bring back a historic site to its original form. So if people normally come to you guys for historical, I guess, guidance when they're renovating or restoring buildings, who do you guys go to? Do y'all have your like, who are y'all going to make sure you're staying between the ditches when it comes to all the things that it takes to keep it a historical site?
Well, believe it or not, we our historic preservation department. The Mississippi Landmark Program, we have to submit as well and go through the same processes as far as permitting and reviews. We go through the same thing. So just recently, I submitted a notice of intent to our Historic Preservation Division, and they during their committee meeting, they actually have to read through it, and if there's different things that I'm lacking, and when I submit, they respond accordingly, letting me know that, hey, this is not in line with the antiquities laws, different things like that. So in a nutshell, we still have to report to us as well.
And why is that so important that you guys go through the meticulousness of making sure it's done correctly?
So really, just going back to that we're mindful to make sure that all of the original details and materials and features of these structures are kept intact. And we have some great folks in our Historic Preservation Division, and they have one of the most complicated jobs in the department.
Yes.
I'll say Justin and I get to have the fun, we're out here on the front end, and we get to do a lot of the sort of hands-on and work on the site. But when we need assistance with technical details and sort of the how-to and the nuts and bolts, we go to our Historic Preservation, or HP folks, as we term them, and they're an entire division within the department, and they really have that technical, detailed, and regulatory oversight role. So they guide us just like they guide anyone else in the state who deals with changes to Mississippi landmarks or submits for improvements, modifications. So and I'd say we also rely heavily on external vendors and contractors and architects. We have some great external consultants. We're currently working with Schaefer Zahner in Starkville on our project here at Historic Jefferson College, and we rely heavily on their guidance on how to tackle some complicated building and renovation measures. So.
Well, and two, you got to remember this is going to be an educational site along with it, so you want it to be as authentic as possible when people come and sort of see the stories and walk through it. So I can appreciate the attention to detail. But you guys stick with us, because we've got more with Justin and Shane, the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, coming up next station. And you can watch us. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk SuperTalk TV. We are continuing our conversation with Justin Ellis and Shane Keil. They're with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. They're with the museum umbrella, under the big umbrella. Lord, you guys are up to some really good things. We were talking about the excitement for the Natchez Center for American History project, you guys getting $1 million from the National Endowment for the Humanities. But this is another umbrella, or I guess under an umbrella of a bigger plan you guys have for Southwest Mississippi. So, Shane, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the department has a lot going on as far as improvements and projects in the southwest corner of the state, all within a close proximity to Natchez. So obviously we've been talking specifically about our Jefferson College site and sort of its transformation and restoration improvements here into becoming the Natchez Center for American History. But we have a lot going on at our other Natchez site, which is the Grand Village of the Natchez Indians. This is a site that interprets and explores the original native inhabitants of the Natchez region, which were the Nachi or Natchez people, and one of their ceremonial mound centers. We're underway there with a significant project to really improve and expand the visitor center and museum building there, do some new exterior interpretation, and really improve that site and make it more accessible, and tell really that story of the Nachi people and their importance to the region. And all this ties into sort of our vision and mission, to better explore, better interpret, especially some of these untold or undertold stories in Mississippi. So we have a lot going on in a really important corner of the state.
So, gosh, y'all do have a big job. And I'm sitting here thinking, what stories do you start on first, Justin, when you're thinking about the untold or, those that may not be as well known throughout the state? So, Justin, how do y'all go through that when you're looking at areas or projects to come up with? I know with the Natchez Center for American History, you guys wrote a specific sort of vision for what you would use grant funds for. So, obviously, there was some thought behind it. So, what drew you guys to the Natchez area, to those specific stories there in Southwest Mississippi?
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately, if we want to think back a couple years, about 6 years ago now, we opened the museums here in Jackson, the two Mississippi museums, which is the Museum of Mississippi History and the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. The department never rested at that point. The department knew that there were several other sites that we have and that deserve the same amount of interpretation and exhibits, things of this nature. And it was just the department, along with community partners and external channels, things of that nature, they just said that, okay, now we need to focus on Natchez. Let's focus on our sites there. Let's bring them up to par with all of our other sites.
And that's getting rolling, and that's getting going for sure.
Exactly.
You guys, Justin and Shane, being within the museum realm, I love every time on Good Things we have somebody, a director or from another museum, that just brings to light what great educational opportunities we have in the smallest communities, in the largest communities, all across this state. When it comes to museums here in Mississippi, I mean, we're not short for any unique place to stop in and visit, are we?
Not at all.
How do y'all keep up with? Do y'all know how many museums we have in the state? I'm just totally throwing you under the bus.
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But
I can say that the Department of Archives and History has 9 excellent museums and historic sites across the state that we would encourage visitors to see. But there are great museums and historic institutions of all sizes across the state in every corner. One of the great things that we do at the department is we assist and advise those institutions with different things, operations and collections management, for exhibitry. So we get to go out and travel, and our historic preservation folks as well in their roles. So we're heavily involved in that community, and I can say that we have some of the best museums and best content all across the state for people to see.
You bring up a good point, Shane. And I think of Mississippi Archives and History as being the big umbrella, but there are museums and things that are not necessarily under the
Correct.
But we're like Mississippi, we're a big family. So
Exactly.
if they're a museum, you guys are all there to sort of help and sort of encourage each other. Okay, what cool jobs you've got. So Justin, I got to know, how do you find yourself into this work? Because we're in Car Rider Line. There may be kids listening who love history. There's parents and all of that. Like, I wouldn't have known you could grow up and do this when you got older. So what led you here?
Well, with me, I say all the time to everyone, I work for the Department of Archives and History, but as far as just being a direct historian by trade, I'm not. So I've always worked in community service capacities, things of that nature, and I started out at the 2 museums shortly after they opened, and from there, with me having a background in logistics and blueprinting, things like that. It kind of led me into this role of being a project manager for the Musuem Division. With us having so many big projects coming up, things of that nature, you really need somebody to drive the project home. And just if the blueprints say, hey, we need this type of building, you just need somebody to make sure that, hey, this is what's getting done. And if not, catching that and paying attention to it ahead of time to make sure that it gets done. So with me, that's my background, logistics, customer service.
You bring up logistics, blueprinting, all that. I'd have never put that into historian. Shane, what I love about asking those questions is because kids need to hear, or those need to hear that, it's not just, it's not just about being a history major to sort of get here. You've got to have all these other backgrounds to make these type of projects and things that our state's doing to keep our history, on the tongues of people and being able to be understood and educated. And it's not just, history class, right?
I'd also add that we're making a historian out of Justin as we go forward. So he may not have started as a historian, but by the time we're done with this project, he will definitely be one on Natchez and Southwest Mississippi history. So
for sure.
Have you enjoyed that part of it? Has that been a unique experience to learn? Not everybody goes to work to learn the history of their state. So have you learned a lot about Mississippi?
I've learned a lot. I've been with the department now 6 years, and I learn something new every day. And that may sound a little cheesy to some people, like, oh, he's just saying that, but no, I really do. I learn something every day from
there's something new to learn.
Passionate people, yeah.
And that's one thing that I do know at the Department of Archives and History is you guys are all passionate. We were talking about our collective friend, Brothers Rogers. Many would know that name. He's visited us here on Good Things. I can hear him now. We have a Smithsonian level, the two museums are Smithsonian level. And we were sharing that folks take time off take their vacation time, use their discretionary income to travel to Mississippi just to see our museums. And there's so many that are guilty, here listening to Good Things that haven't, for whatever reason, taken the time or the opportunity to visit those. How much does that break your heart, Shane, that some Mississippians haven't visited yet?
Well, that's hard to hear, but we definitely would take this time to encourage them to come and see, especially here in Jackson at the two museums. I mean, these are two world-class institutions. You can come and see literally thousands of artifacts on display, both from civil rights history in the state and the state's history going back to pre-contact with Native Americans. I mean, we have some fantastic pieces to see, some fantastic historic content that for visitors of all ages. So we definitely encourage everyone to come out and see us at the two museums. You should at least put that on your bucket list. But there's so many other bucket list items. We were just talking about the Windsor ruins. Is that part of the Southwest plan? Sure. So Windsor is part of that, and this is a site that if you're a Mississippian and you've not seen or been to Windsor ruins, this should be on your bucket list. This was a finished construction right on the eve of the Civil War, and one of the largest, if not the largest, antebellum plantation home in Mississippi. It burned in 1890, and the columns have remained, and it's just this very imposing and powerful site, and it's been a department site now since the 1970s, and we're actually just wrapping up a project to really stabilize and preserve those columns. So obviously a lot of damage from the elements, and time has not been kind, but we've spent quite a bit of time and funding there over the last 3 to 4 years to stabilize those, and it's really a magnificent site that is sort of part of this sort of regional umbrella of history in that region. So if you come see us in Natchez and on your way down the trace, make a short detour and see Windsor ruins. See Windsor ruins. Fun fact: Natchez is the biscuit capital of the world. Another fun fact is National Pie Day. So what's the boys' favorite pie? Justin, what's your favorite pie?
I'm a simple guy. Pecan pie.
Can't mess it up.
You can't mess it up.
And if you do, you've got talent. So
exactly.
Shane?
This is probably one of the toughest questions of the day, but I'll probably settle on cherry as just a good classic staple. So. Oh no, your mom introduced you to something. What did she introduce you to? So that was the strawberry rhubarb. So it's a close tie, and I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. I just want to know if somebody else has had a strawberry rhubarb pie. You can let us know on the text line for sure, because I feel like you're not alone, but you're at It's a small group. It's a small group here. But we want more people to experience that. So
I wonder, it's not, so it can't be a Mississippi staple. It's probably not in a museum. It's probably in a museum somewhere, but probably not here in Mississippi, the strawberry rhubarb
if
pie.
they're a pie museum, I don't know. That's
There's definitely a pecan pie in a museum in Mississippi. Absolutely, for
I'm going to
sure.
look that pie up right after this.
Well, you guys are welcome back anytime to give us updates on the Natchez Center for American History. We'll be following that as you guys break ground and sort of build that into fruition. But you all stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.